Hello, today's video I'm looking at the papers and cut foil and embossed die that I've used to make up this card, and these are from the Couture Creations new Naughty or Nice Christmas collection. So as I'm using a cut foil and embossed die, I do foil that on my GoPress Foil, and people worry about their lids getting scratched by these dies. Now the lid is designed to be a consumable option. It's like a cutting plate for a die cutting machine. You can get new ones. What I've done is I've got a new one. I'll find my newer one here. Yeah, it's had some use, but when I'm working with the cut foil and embossed dies, I change back to my old one so that I don't scratch the new one. And people worry about changing the lid, so I thought I'd try and show you how to change your lid, how to detach it and put the lid back on, or put a new lid on. So I've got here, this is just an A5 cutting plate. I just need something to just lift up my GoPress Foil foiling platform a bit. I'm working with it cold, so I haven't got to worry about touching anything hot. And I just want to lift that off my work surface a little bit, and I am going to stand up when I do this. So that's just to give me bit of extra clearance when I actually try and detach the lid. So if I open it up fully, okay, and I'm just going to slide the camera back a little bit. There we are. Okay, so I've got it on a raised surface. You could use something like a book or a pack of paper, just something to raise it up that's quite solid. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to put one hand on my GoPress Foil, which is why I want it cold, and then I'm going to press down on one side, the hinge one side, and then press on the one the other side, and just keep going backwards and forwards, and then it just comes off. Okay, and then to put a different lid on, or to put my same lid back on, I just put it in place as if it's closed. So just line it up with the hinges, there we are, and just lay it flat, and then just press on each hinge. Right, just press a couple of times, and then just pick it up and just squeeze together at the hinges, just to make sure it's snapped into place. There we are, and then you can check that it's all in place just by opening it and closing it. Okay, so that's how easy it is to change a lid. And you can do it standing up. If you've got strong arms, you can twist them apart, but I think it's easier to do it if you can just lean on it and use your body weight. Okay, do make sure you're on a sturdy worktop or table when you do it though. So that's that. So now I can get that warming up. So just bear with me a moment. The next thing I need to talk about, because we're working with cut foil and embossed dies, is metal plates. Because when we're working with these, and this is a cut foil and embossed die, this is the one we're going to be working with. So it's got raised ridges that apply the foil, and then it's got a cutting line around the outside. Okay, so it cuts and foils at the same time. So you get the Couture Creations metal conversion plate. It actually says metal conversion plate there, okay, on it. So if you're not sure if the metal shim you've got is the conversion plate, have a look. If it is, it says it on it. It's quite thick. It's over 1 millimetre thick. If I just zoom the camera and get it to focus. Now you can see how thick that edge is. Okay. Now, a metal shim is what you use with your die cutting machine, and they're usually about 0.5 millimetre thick. I'll get it to focus on that. The camera a bit more instead. It's not focusing on it. anyway, it's much thinner. Let me get the focus back over here. So it's much thinner. Yeah, it's bendy. Yeah, it's the sort of thing you use with your die cutting machine if you're cutting fabric, or just need sort of lots of extra pressure for what you're cutting. You know, for very intricate dies, that kind of thing. So that's only 0.5 millimetre thick, which is a bit more than a piece of card. Maybe a couple of thicknesses of card. Okay, this really substantial, doesn't bend. Okay, so you can put a couple of thin metal shims on your GoPress and foil to foil with the cut, foil and emboss dies, or you can use the Couture Creations metal conversion plate. Okay, so I'm going to give it a whirl with this, and if you get too much overfoiling, I might have to do it again using 2 metal shims, because I get really good pressure from my die cutting machine. So that will need to warm up on my GoPress. So let me put that on my hot plate, which is starting to get hot. So I've put it on there. So I've just docked that into the base unit so that the metal plate heats up. Okay, and while we're waiting for that, that brings me to my next gadget. Now, I don't know how widely available in the world this is. It will certainly be available in Australia, I would imagine. So Couture Creations have brought out this mini guillotine, and that, because I'm on the design team, they sent me one to try out and to demonstrate. And I must admit, it arrived and I thought, I've got cutters, not sure I need another one. Let me just, get the zoom on the camera back right. So, but I thought, well, I'll give it a try, and I used it a bit on camera when I first got it, and then I carried on using it. So, and now it's become one of those tools I really wouldn't want to be without, because it's really, really good. It'll cut the tiniest slithers. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus. Maybe there. No, maybe there. Can't even get the camera to focus on it. That is just a tiny sliver of card go straight into a piece of card. So yeah, this is, I really love it. It's got a really clear measuring guide in centimetres and inches, and it's at the top and the bottom, and then in line with the inches scale you've got, which will be 1/4 inch divisions going across and down, which I don't so much using for measuring but for making sure things are straight. So let me just grab my pieces of paper that I need for this card. And the first thing I need to do, and this is one of the reasons I really love it, is I need to cut my card blank to size. So I'm starting off with an A5 card blank, and it's folded, so there's 2 layers of card here, and I've put the folded end in here, and this is how well it cuts, because I can put this in here. I'm just going to trim the end slightly to make sure I'm starting off square. And that's gone straight through those 2 layers of card and given me a perfect cut. And then I'm going to cut this to size. So obviously, reasonable amount of force, and you do have to make sure you hold down the safety strip firmly. But there we are. So I just love it for cutting my card blanks. And then I can cut all my card and paper and know it's going to cut perfectly and be square. So this is my backing paper for the card. So this has come from the 12 by 12 pad, and I've got, if I just reach over here, I've got the rest of the sheets here. Obviously I've used part of it on the card I made already. Okay, and then this one, I've cut, this half is a bit narrower, but the piece I've got ready to cut down here has come off this side. Now, I intentionally did that because on the other side, you've got this lovely Father Christmas, and I wanted to be able to keep that intact, maybe trim it on this side to use on a card. So normally I cut them down the middle, but this one I went narrower on this side, and it's fine for this card because it's the middle panel. So I've got my measurements noted here. So this red paper, I need a 12.5 centimetre square. Now, I'm in the UK, I tend to work with metric measurements, but if you want to convert to approximately the same in inches, that's fine, because I'm working on a 14.8 centimetre card blank. You may be working on a 6 inch, in which case everything is a little bit bigger. So I've got my piece of paper here. The first thing I'm going to do is, which edge is the right, so that will be the factory cut edge, and so all that. Okay, so let me just, what I tend to do is just put a cut along every edge bigger than I need to make sure I've got kind of square edges. Make sure the cutting blade is all the way up, otherwise what you find happens is you think you've gone all the way up, but at that very last bit you're not quite up against the end stop and you get a crooked cut. Make sure it's all the way up and your card's pushed all the way up against the stop at the end. Hold down the guard firmly and just cut. And it's a self-sharpening blade, so I've been using this a few months now and it's as good as the day I got it. So what did I say? Red paper, 12.5 centimetres. And I want to make sure I've cut. So let's not go to quite 12.5 yet. Let's work our way round. So at this point, I probably want to decide which words I want to have showing. So I've got a nice happy start night. I think it would be nice to have that silent night is at the top. So if I trim my far edge, so I've got my silent night showing, and then I'll work my size from there. So I want, now the other thing you can do, because you've got these lines going all the way down, you can make sure you've got straight edges, and I've got one there that isn't quite, I think. So let me work my way around. So if I now cut this, if I get there, so I can put this on here and I can make sure, no, that isn't quite straight, so I'm going to straighten this edge. That's better, and then I can cut that to my 12.5 centimetres. And it's really easy. I wear varifocal glasses, so if I was actually having to be able to read the measurements, look down on them as you do with some of the engraved measuring scales, then I wouldn't be looking for the right bit of my glasses. I want this at an angle so I can look through the bottom part for this distance. So that's another reason this works really well for me. So 12.5 that way, and I think I'll keep the happy and cut it down this way to 12.5 that way. There we are. And I cut my gold card gold coloured card out earlier, and I can just make sure that when I layer those together that I have got an even distance all the way around, and that works because it's cut straight. Yeah, so I've got that one, I've got that one, I've got my red card. I need to cut that one to size as well. Okay, and then it can all go onto my card blank. So that I'll do in a moment. The GoPress foil is now ready. Now before I do anything else, I need to cut this to size, because what I've actually done is I've foiled this, but I've done it out of the middle of that. So to make sure I get that in the middle, I'm going to cut that to size first. So that needs to be poly paper, 14.4 centimetres. Sorry, I'm not sure if you heard that, there was a bus going past. 14.4 centimetres. All the measurements will be in the blog post. The link to the blog post is in the video description. So if you look underneath the video, you might have to click on see more or read more, and there will be a website address for on the Couture Creations blog for the blog post that goes with this card, and that will have all the measurements and all the details of the materials used. So first of all, let's take the white bit off. Okay, so that's my straight edge to start with. So 14.4. How much have I got? Yeah, I've got 15. So I can take a bit off of that side. And a bit off of that side. And I tend to work my way around, making sure I've cut on all the edges, because I've actually found that, I'm sure Couture Creations quality control is very good, but some other paper pads I've worked with, they just haven't been cut square, or the sides aren't straight, and you end up wasting a lot of card because you thought things were going to be square when you cut two edges and they're not. And then you think, well, there's something wrong with your eyes because you can't line up your matching layers evenly. And actually, it's the cut that's wrong. So that side, let's do this side as well. 14.4. So it's really easy to read the measuring scale. There we are. Really, really easy. Now, the other thing I love about this, if I have got a wonky cut, that I need to straighten, it will take the smallest slither off. So if I just take this piece of card, if I line this up here, so it's barely over the edge. Now, assume this is a piece of wonky card I'm trying to straighten. It takes the smallest slivers off. It'll take even smaller than that. And if you've got a taper on your card and it's the right measurement one end and not at the other, you can put it in and cut it, and it will straighten it, and it won't ruin the narrow end. It cuts it perfectly. As I say, I wasn't sure I needed another cutting tool. I've got, you know, 2 paper trimmers already. But this, when I'm cutting my mats and layers, this is my go-to tool now. I wouldn't want to be without it. So I can thoroughly recommend that. So I've cut that to size, and I'm going to use my die in the middle because I need my foil. So I've got some Couture Creations red mirror finish foil. I've got a piece I actually cut yesterday when I was doing the other card. So let's just trim that to size. Now, I don't want too much extra foil overhanging onto my paper, because obviously this is going to be on a card, and although most of it's hidden, I don't want to find I've got foil on the bit that's going to show. I'm just roughly cutting my foil to the size I need. It also makes it easier to tape it down, because I like to tape down my dies so that I know where they're going to be and things don't slide about. So I'm just going to put that in the middle there, and I'm going to tape it in place so that the foil and the die are held down. Okay, and then because this is a paper rather than card, I'm also going to use an extra spare piece of card about the same size as the die, because I find that I get a better effect with the foiling, because it gives me the emboss that I would get if I was foiling on card. The paper isn't really thick enough to take that emboss. So that all needs to go onto my GoPress and foil, which is now nice and hot. I'll just pull it out. Actually, no, I'm going to leave it in and turn the camera. I think I can actually zoom in a bit as well. I'll do that. Turn the camera a bit more. Sorry. There we are. So there you can see my GoPress and foil. It's in the hot plate. Camera is very wonky. There we are. Okay. So normally I don't keep pulling it in and out if I can avoid it. I leave it in the base. Just lift the lid, and then I can just put that on. I can feel where the die is through there, so I can feel that that piece of card on the back is in the right place. I'm putting it lengthways. That needs to go on there, and the die needs time to warm up. Okay, so I'm going to pause there and let that warm up, and stick some of my mats and layers together. Okay. Okay, so I left this warming up while I put double-sided tape on the back of all of these and stuck them together. So that was quite a while. Normally, maybe a minute, if that. So I'm going to pull that out and put it through my die cutting machine. So let me just turn the camera a bit more. And actually, I'm going to go back to my normal zoom. There we are. So slowly through, and I like to go back as well, particularly as I haven't got a lot of room behind my die cutting machine. Gonna slide that back in. Oops, lift the lid. And that piece has come away by itself, and I can just carefully, I think my tape has got stuck. Now that's all just fallen apart. So the die is hot. So I'm going to use my pick and lift. Whoops. And just put that to cool. Okay. Oh, let's turn the camera back. There, okay. So it fell out, so it's obviously cut, and I can just take my foil away, and you can see why I trimmed my foil, because on my card there I've got some over foiling around the edge. So if I'd left that as a huge piece of foil, it would have spoiled my backing paper. As it stands, this is going to be hidden underneath all those layers, so nobody will ever know, except you, of course. Okay, so let's put that to one side for a moment. Get my foil with its piece of sticky tape out of the way. And let's see what we got. I'm just going to give it a bit of a wiggle, and then the foil starts to come away. Oh, it has overfoiled quite a bit. Okay, so I'm going to need to clean that up I might need to do it again and go back to my two thin metal plates. So bear with me while I have a go at cleaning it up. Okay, so I use a combination of a flat sand eraser and my Couture Creations Creative Detailer. So where I've got foiling on sort of raised areas and flat areas, I find the flat rubber is quickest and easiest. So in amongst my letters, but be gentle because you don't want to go down into the emboss because that will spoil your foiling. You just want to stay on the surface and rub lightly over it. And these papers, although they are technically a paper rather than a card, and they're printed on, I do find the foil comes away really nicely without spoiling the surface of the paper. Okay, so that's the flat areas. Just a bit more on there. Oh, and on the curl. So if I show you on before and after, let me see if I can get this nicely in the camera. So get that in focus. Get that in focus. So on that curl there, can't see it on the camera. Am I in the right place even? Yeah, on the inside of that curl there is overfoiling. Let me try zooming. There you can see it, okay? So I'm going to use my flat eraser on that. Actually, if I can get you a really good close-up of what I'm doing. So I'm on this curl here, and I'm just with the flat of my eraser going over that. And then nice soft brush to brush away any sort of debris from the rubber. And then if I bring that back up to the camera now and focus on it. That one. Now you can see I've managed to remove that overfoiling. Now this has got a bit of overfoiling around the edge as well. And the best tool for that is your Creative Detailer. Okay, so, but I like to put it on another piece of card while I do it. And it is quite noisy, so I'm going to do a bit and then I'm going to pause the camera while I do the rest. So the Creative Detailer, zoom back to normal and the focus. So the Creative Detailer is another Couture Creations product, and basically it's a battery powered eraser. It comes with adapters for both thick and thin tips, and you press the button and the end spins. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. So it just goes around when you press the button. Okay, so let's zoom in on what I'm doing here. Focus. Okay, so I'm going to be working my way around the edge here, and you just hold the button in and move it around the edge, holding down your die cut. I just brush that away. Let's do a bit more. There we are. You can see I've cleaned the foil away from that edge. You can see further round. I haven't. Okay, so I'm going to finish that off and then finish putting the card together. Okay, so I have patiently worked my way around this. Get able to focus at the right distance. That's it. So you can see I've got rid of all the overfoiling. But I thought it'd be good for you to see the difference if I use 2 thin metal shims on my GoPress Foil instead of the conversion plate. Okay, so I've cut another piece of the same paper and it's been warming up. So I'm going to put that through the die cutting machine now. So let me turn the camera and zoom it out again. That's it, back to a normal zoom. There we are. Okay, and that's been heating for a little while I've been finishing that off, and but it's just started flashing red again now that I'm ready. That's it, because the base unit had been pulled out and back in. It's thought I've not used it for a while and turned itself off. So there we go, that's ready to go. So let's wind this through. So I've just put 2 metal shims, one on top of the other. Let's make sure I'm winding nice and slowly. Okay, so forwards and backwards. Slide it back in. So it's not quite cut through my extra shim, it's nearly cut it. It's given me a good guideline if I want to cut that out. And then I can slide this off and just quickly show you. I've literally just got 2 metal shims, one on top of the other. And I always tend to keep them in the same order so that one ends up with the dents and the other one stays flat. There we are. Move the camera around. Let's see how this one's turned out. Let's give it a, take the tape off. Yeah, it's starting to cool down, so I can handle that. Take the die off. There we are. And then take my foil off. So I've got some overfoiling even doing it that way, but it's a matter of trial and error and seeing what works for you, really. See my brush and see if any of that just comes away. So I've not got so much overfoiling in the middle, but I've probably got a bit more overfoiling around the outside, to be honest. So, but it might clean up more easily. Yeah, so it's easier. There's in less places, it's a bit easier to clean it up. So you do have the choice of either using 2 thin metal shims or your conversion plate if you've got one. When you use these cut and emboss dies, and as I say, the overfoiling comes away quite easily. Now I've got another one of these I did on a similar card, and that's just foiled onto white card. Let me camera to focus on that. As you can see, they do come out nice and crisp and clean. It is a matter of the thickness of your card and the pressure of your die cutting machine, all the factors combined. One of the beauties of the GoPress Foil is that you can use it with lots of different die cutting machines, not just Couture Creation ones, but you know, I'm using my Scissors Big Shot. I've also got a Spellbinders Platinum, and you can, you know, the Cut and Emboss, as well as the Go Cut and Emboss. So you know, you can use it with the machines that are big enough to take it, but obviously they all have slightly different pressure, and it also depends on the age of your machine and how worn it is. Because they all start off having marvellous pressure when they're brand new, and gradually all the parts get a little bit worn. So there we are. That's been much quicker to clean up than the previous one, but they're both perfectly usable. Okay, now I was thinking, so wasting card? No, because I'm doing this on paper, and let me go with the one that actually cut through. I've got this, which means I've got a nice firm base to put this on, so when I put it on foam pads, it's not going to flop in the middle or at the sides. Okay, so I'm going to stick those together, and I usually use wet glue for this, and then we can finish off our card. So let's grab some wet glue. Don't have to use craft card if you're adding an extra layer. I just happen to have lots of it. I got a very good deal on what I thought was a good few sheets, but it actually turned out to be a very, very large stack of card. Probably a better bargain than I even thought I was getting. So, but it just, because I got it so cheap, it tends to be whenever I need a bit of scrap card or an extra layer, it's what I use. They fit together really nicely because of the emboss. They kind of want to go into the right place. There, so that needs to dry. Just need to finish sticking the mats and layers down on this. And so this is the one that we cut out of. Grab some double-sided tape. And I actually find if I cut my tape, it's easier to get hold of the end to peel it. Let me move that out of the way because it's rattling. Yeah, I've got the camera where you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so that layer needs to go on my card, making sure it's the right way up, because baubles hanging upside down doesn't look right. I'm just releasing the backing from my tape in the corners and not taking it off completely. Okay, so I've done that, get it the right way around, and then I can put it on my card base, and I'm making sure that's the right way up as well. I can just line that up using the non-sticky corners, and then peel the tape out from underneath. Okay, those layers are ready to go. And before I stuck these together, I cut my circle out of the gold layer. I did that earlier. This one definitely needs to be the right way up, otherwise the words won't read correctly. So at the start you might be thinking, well, why didn't I do this ahead of time? It's to show you that you do your sentiment out of the middle part of the bottom layer. Then I've got my circle. Okay, which needs to go in the middle there. And I'm going to use some bits of double-sided tape and some wet glue as well. So it's an awkward shape. I'm going to put some wet glue around the edge and put that there and in the middle. Okay, so I've got my circle, got my bits of tape sticking out, and put that right in the middle. Again, pull my tape out the end. So there's that, and then, so on this version of the card, I've used some die cuts in the middle. And on this version of the card, what I've done is I've used the Noel frame from the Naughty or Nice collection. It comes with a little sentiment die as well with this, but I haven't used it on this card. And I've used that, I've die cut it twice out of the red foil card, and then I've done 4 die cuts from some dark green card, and then I've kind of stuck those together using a piece of card at the base to kind of give me a base to stick to start with. So just 4 in a pattern, and then some red ones over the top, and then I've used some holly from the ephemera pack, which is here somewhere. There. So also in this collection there's a pack of pre-die cut bits and pieces to use on your card or your scrapbook pages. There's bits of holly and bells and tags and all sorts of things in there. So I've used those to decorate this, and this looks like a bit of a hodgepodge at the moment, but that's going to go down in the middle there, I think is where I was going to have it. And then with my sentiment over the top, kind of hiding the workings. That kind of works. Okay, so let's get this stuck down. Might need some foam pads to put that on actually. Probably is best because it's a bit of a strange shape. I'm going to use some foam tape. That can go. Make sure I've got it the right way round. Right, that way Merry Christmas can be straight. Anyway, there. Okay, so I'm going to stick that down. That's there, and then I'll put some more foam on the back of my Merry Christmas. This just needs a few foam pads because it's on card anyway. That's probably far too many. But because it is all kind of lumpy and bumpy, I'm not sure which bits are going to stick. card finished. So there we are. And here's the other version. So just to give you ideas how you can use a bit of what you've got already with the papers, and how you can use the new cut, foil and emboss dies as well. Okay. Thank you for watching.